Ambassador McFall, let me read you this. It was the scoop in Axios about Elon Musk's role. Donald Trump's phone call with Ukrainian President Zelenskyy on Wednesday included two surprises. Elon Musk was on the line, and Zelenskyy was somewhat reassured by what he heard from the president-elect. That's according to two sources with knowledge of the call. The new details of the call underscore how influential Musk could be in the second Trump administration and the uncertainty over how exactly Trump will approach Ukraine. Why might President Zelenskyy have been reassured by Musk's presence on the call?
Well, I don't know if he actually was, but that's exactly what he has to say. Okay. Which is to say that we were talking about Europe before the break. Many countries, including in Ukraine, I was just in Berlin and Prague a few weeks ago, they've been planning for this outcome. This is not like 2016. They've been courting various people that they think are in the Trump orbit to try to get their ear, particularly the Ukrainians, because they are in an existential fight for the sovereignty of their country. And right after President-elect won the election, who was the first to tweet about it in flattering ways, just like Vladimir Putin understands flattery? Zelenskyy does too. Zelenskyy is leaning into this idea of an outsider, right? A television personality outsider, just like you, Mr. Trump, because he has to do all that he can to now work with this administration. He doesn't have the luxury of sitting in Palo Alto like I do and analyzing what these populists are going to do. He is in a fight for his life. And now he has to deal with President-elect Trump and people around him like Elon Musk, who might just pop on calls from time to time in the new second Trump term.
You know, Ben Rhodes, a Ukrainian friend said to me that Trump is still Trump, that he can still be easily and almost admittedly maneuvered by flattery. The whole world knows that. How might that be used by clever leaders in democracies to serve democracy?
You know, I hate to be pessimistic about this, Nicolle, but look, we have to learn from the first time around. And I talked to a lot of European governments at that time, as I'm sure Mike and John did. They all tried it, right? You'll remember Macron really tried to flatter him, ended up in getting tariffs and huge spats. Theresa May tried to flatter him, ended up in the same place. They're all going to try it again because why not? They have to. I just don't think at the end of the day, they're the people he likes. You know, people who run liberal democracies are not the people that Donald Trump feels affinity to around the world. That's what he says. You know, have you ever heard him when he lists his friends like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un and all these people? He's never listing, you know, maybe Boris Johnson might sneak in there, I guess. But now you got a Labour government in the UK. So they'll try flattering. But I think what's actually more important is to know what your backup plan is here, if you're the Ukrainians or if you're the Europeans. And to know, you know, in the United States system, I think it's also really important for those people to be talking to Republicans in Congress. You know, that actually worked better for Ukraine, including in the Trump administration. A lot of the assistance that flowed to Ukraine in the Trump administration was because there were large majorities in Congress, including Republicans, who wanted to do that. So it's not just about, you know, Trump himself and can I build this personal relationship with him? Because the reality is, you know, I'm sure Trump was very nice to Zelenskyy because if people flatter him, you know, he says nice things back. But I think we've seen that doesn't necessarily translate him into doing the thing that you want him to do. The Elon Musk part of this is pretty notable, too. You know, it's kind of oligarchy vibes, Nicolle. It's in the sense that you've got these kind of titans of industry who are also titans of government. It's very Putin-esque, frankly. Early years of Putin, as Mike knows, to have these kind of oligarchs who are both businessmen but kind of helping to run the government. But what's alarming there is that Elon Musk himself has, you know, tweeted out that, you know, he supports his peace plan that is basically Putin's peace plan, which is you kind of freeze the conflict and Russia gets everything they currently have. Frankly, I agree with Mike, that's probably not even on the table. Russia's going to push further. But it does speak to the fact he's going to play this kind of strange role that's blending his business interests and his government role and his advisory role. And that's a new dynamic. We haven't seen that in the United States in a very long time.
I want to show you some of what I think you're talking about, Ben Rhodes, which is that when given the opportunity to say something nice about a Democratic leader, he never takes it. When giving the opportunity, even in friendly interviews, to condemn the world's dictators, he never takes that either. Here's Trump on Orban and Xi.
That was the question they asked Viktor Orban, who's really considered a very strong. They said he's a strong man. Sometimes you need a strong man. He's a strong man. They said he called President Xi brilliant. Well, he's a brilliant guy. He controls 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. I mean, he's a brilliant guy, whether you like it or not. And they go crazy.
Right.
Say,
it doesn't mean he's not evil, or it doesn't mean he's not.
Yeah, of course not.
Dangerous.
But actually, we have evil people in our country.
That Rogan clip, Director Brennan, is so reminiscent of an interview that Trump did with Joe Scarborough and the guy at Fox, O'Reilly, where he's questioning him about Putin, and he says, you know, and I think Joe did and O'Reilly did, but, you know, but he kills people, he kills journalists, and Trump defiantly says, we kill people too, and you know, good on. Mr. Rogan there to say it doesn't mean he's not dangerous, it doesn't mean he's not evil. And Trump sees no difference between the brutality in an autocracy and what his role will be as president. What signal does that send to you, Director Brennan?
It sends the signal that Donald Trump is most impressed by ruthless strength and wealth. And if you look at the people that he associates with and speaks highly of, whether it be Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping or Viktor Orban, these are individuals who have been able to manipulate the politics and the system within their countries in order to suppress any opposition and to be the authoritarian leader that I think Donald Trump wants to be. Also, Elon Musk being the wealthiest person in the world, this is something that Donald Trump salivates over and wants to have a person like Elon Musk very much associated and affiliated with the administration. You know, when Donald Trump was elected in 2016, I was hoping that he was going to grow into the role of the presidency. In fact, I told the CIA workforce, you know, that once he assumes the responsibilities of the presidency, that he's going to recognize just how important that role is. And his first term was a serious disappointment in that regard. And unfortunately, I think we have a track record here. And now this second term, he's limited supposedly by the Constitution, by the law, into only 2 terms, that he is going to, I think, try to do as much as he can in order to be the disruptive leader, the autocratic, authoritarian leader that he wants to be. And so I do think that looking at the years ahead, this is going to be a very turbulent time, not just for U.S. national security and domestic policy, but also for the global landscape in terms of how the U.S. role is evolving and how Russia, China, and others are going to take advantage of that.